election since the Second World War. There were many, many issues on which we fought the election, but fundamentally it was the one about the economy and about transformation that I think was the important message we put forward. Now, the people that have borne the brunt of austerity have been the poorest and most vulnerable, have been the homeless, have been those that work in education, work in health, work in local government, work in public services of any sort, and have seen their wages frozen. Or indeed, in the case of health workers, the reality has been a 14% cut in their living standards over the past 7 years. And we thought, well, the first thing we should do is give an opportunity to all those Tory MPs that never fail to get up and thank the emergency services whenever an emergency takes place, such as the horrors of what happened in Manchester, what happened at London Bridge, what happened at Grenfell, what happened in my own constituency in Finsbury Park. They always praise all the emergency services. Well, thank you for their praise. Thank you for all of that. Here's an opportunity to do something practical, like lifting the wage freeze on public sector workers. We put that opportunity to Parliament and invited all the opposition parties to vote with us on it. They all did, except for the DUP. Because we have a government that doesn't have a majority, that lost seats in the general election, that fined £1 billion as a bung to the DUP for their pet projects in Northern Ireland, and fines not a penny for housing needs, health needs, social care needs, anywhere else in the rest of the country. So we challenged them on this. We didn't win that particular vote, but I tell you what, we're going to keep on and on challenging them until they give up the ghost and we have another general election. We're doing a summer campaign. We're going to all parts of the country. We've been along the south coast, and we started the campaign. We thought a great place to start would be Hastings. There was a bit of trouble there in 1066, I understand, which had a bit of an effect on the rest of our history, and so we went to Warrior Square at St Leonard's, where would be more appropriate, on a Saturday morning, only a few weeks after the general election. And you know what? Over 2,000 people came, because they were so sad we didn't quite gain Hastings in the general election. We lost it by a few hundred votes. But I tell you what, they're out there doing it, as you are doing it, every day, every weekend, getting that message out. And we've taken our message all along the south coast. We've been in the southwest. Yesterday we were in Cumbria. Today we're in many parts of Lancashire. And then we're going up to Morecambe tonight and continuing the campaign. And next week we're all over different parts of Scotland. And this Saturday, Friday evening rather, if you've got nothing else to do, come to Southport Beach. We've got a big rally on Southport Beach on Friday evening. And so we're taking that campaign out there. People say, what are you doing that for? The election's over. I said, no, no, no. The election might have ended on June the 8th, but the issues of homelessness, the issues of housing waiting lists, the issues of hospital waiting lists, the issues of people stuck in beds in hospitals when they should be receiving social care have not gone away. They've got worse and are continuing to get worse so long as this government remains in office. And so, as a Labour movement, as a Labour Party, let's take that message out there all across the country and show by our own strength that we can change things in this country and in our society. I'll give you an example of the way we want to change things. Start with health. We're in the Labour Party for a reason. Because we believe society could and should be run differently and better. One of the greatest achievements of our movement was the establishment of the National Health Service after the Second World War. Imagine what that government was going through after the Second World War. They inherited a situation where bombed-out cities, high levels of poverty, desperate people in desperate need. They could have said, OK, NHS, too complicated, too expensive, too difficult, put it on the back burner, do it sometime in the future when things have got better. They didn't. They said, no, it's a fundamental priority. Healthcare at the point of use, free, as a human right for all. It's our greatest achievement, and it's our most precious national asset. We are not going to let the Tories dice it up, slice it up, cut it up and privatise it. We're going to maintain a national health service free and totally for all. And that NHS, of course, it's under threat. It's under stress at the moment. Those that work in the NHS are under enormous levels of stress. And then you start to look at the situation in hospital after hospital, and you see people waiting to leave hospital where they should be getting the social care they need, can't get it because it's not available, therefore they have to remain in hospital, therefore somebody else can't come into hospital, therefore somebody else can't get the surgery they need, and you get the whole thing going further down the line. There has to be a national investment in social care. Why is it that you get NHS care if you get cancer? Rightly so. You don't get the same support if you get dementia. That too often relies on family support and usually women giving up work in order to care for somebody who is suffering from dementia. We need a national care service. We don't need sweetheart deals between a Tory government and Surrey County Council. We need proper funding of social care in every part of the country, which is why we will establish a national care service. And the other aspect that I feel very strongly about is the provision of mental health services across the whole country. We achieved parity of esteem in law in healthcare between physical and mental health by a Labour amendment to the Health and Social Care Bill, which later became an Act. It started in the House of Lords and we eventually got it through. So there is, in law, parity of esteem. It simply doesn't happen or work at a local level. There is the inadequacy of support and provision of mental health beds, there's the inadequacy of support of therapies, and too often people wait too long, and too often people are afraid to speak out because of the stigma they think is going to follow them. We as a party, as a movement, can do something about that by the way we conduct ourselves and the way we practice what we believe in, which is there should be real parity of esteem and nobody should be stigmatised because they're going through a mental health crisis. It's serious. Young people often feel frightened, alone and isolated because they don't want to talk about it. Let's all talk about it as well as pushing for the resources that are necessary. A Labour government will have real parity of esteem of mental and physical health in the future. The election campaign was also about education. School budgets are under threat. School budgets are insufficient. Head teachers in some parts of the country are reducing the school day or stopping school at midday on Fridays or reducing the number of subjects or making teachers redundant or, and sometimes all of these things, plus children in oversized or supersized classes. Completely wrong and completely unnecessary. And the lottery of preschool provision also means that many children lose out on that chance to go to nursery, preschool facility of some sort, to have that wonderful experience of playing together, growing up together and socialising together so they're ready for primary school when they reach the age to go there. And so we have to invest far more in preschool education and support for primary schools, including limiting class sizes and also providing free school meals for all children in primary schools throughout their school career in primary, because that way they get a good meal, but they also get the chance of eating it together. Again, the social message of children doing something together in school is something that I feel is very important. I'm very proud of a couple of lines that we put into the manifesto, which was something I believe very strongly in, that we will also introduce a pupil arts premium so that every child in school will get the chance to learn a musical instrument, because at the moment it's only those whose parents can afford it that get to do that. And further through the education ladder, so to speak, is the question of college and university education and adult education. I make no bones about it. It was a big decision to decide what we would do about fees in colleges and university and adult. We discussed it at some length. I take the view that everyone ought to have the chance of going to college, ought to have the chance, if they want to and they're able to benefit from it, of going to university, and we as a society as a whole benefit from it. It would be expensive. I take the view that we should raise corporation tax, not lower it. We should raise that tax in order to properly fund our public services, and in particular remove the fees on college and university and adult education so that everybody can benefit from it and future generations don't end up with a debt of £50,000 or more because they wanted to get an education and because they wanted to be able to contribute to our society as qualified people. It was a big decision. We took it because we believe in it, and I want to lead a Labour government that will say education is a right, not a privilege, for everybody throughout their lives. There are so many issues that affect us, but I'll just finish on a couple of other points. This morning I was talking to people going through the housing crisis that so many face in our society. Those who are unable to pay the bedroom tax or frightened of the consequence of the bedroom tax. Wholly unnecessary, wholly nasty piece of legislation, something you would expect from nothing else to do. We will obviously get rid of the bedroom tax. It is something that has been so grotesquely unfair for so many. But it's also about investing in housing. If we don't give local authorities the power, the opportunity and the responsibility to build the council housing we need for the future, then what happens? We end up with private rented accommodation, which is insecure, which is often expensive, usually energy very inefficient, sometimes in very poor condition, but not secure. And that plays on people's minds and it affects children and their opportunities and their health. The only way I can see of dealing with the housing crisis in this country is being prepared to invest in secure, rented council housing with lifetime tenancies, which will help to deal with the housing crisis we've got. This is going to be one of the biggest issues that we face, but the alternative is what? More and more homeless people, more and more children can't leave home when they become adults, more and more people reliant on the private rented sector and all the insecurities that go with it. I think we need to look at housing as a priority across the whole country, and that is something I'm utterly determined to do. As we have this hopefully very short period between the general election and whenever the next election comes, we want to develop our policies. Our party membership has now gone up to 575,000 and continuing to rise, the biggest membership certainly in my lifetime, and I'm very proud of the numbers of people that have joined the party and becoming very active in the party and very active in the community. We need that collective knowledge, that collective strength and those collective ideas to develop greater details of our policy. How we would ensure a national care service works effectively and efficiently in all parts of the country. How we develop the housing we want. How we develop energy efficient housing that we want. How we would develop that sense of community delivery and provision. But also how we look at the huge economic questions that face this country. We pledged, and we stick by it, that we would establish a national investment bank which would be regionally based, so that the North East, the North West and the East Midlands wouldn't continue to lose out on national investment decisions compared to other parts of the country. Every part of the country deserves the capital investments that are necessary in railways, in buses, in public transport and in industrial infrastructure. So a Labour government would be investing in sustainable development and industries, wouldn't walk by on the other side while the steel industry is in crisis. We would have a government that is interventionist in its approach. We have also a government that's determined to achieve tariff-free trade access to the European markets, because so many jobs absolutely depend on it, and we would not do what the Tories are doing, is threatening to set up some kind of offshore tax haven for Europe on the shores of Europe as a way of undermining social conditions in other places. And we certainly would not be doing a transatlantic trade and investment partnership deal with Donald Trump, which would damage so much. It's how we conduct ourselves as well. And I find it astonishing that when sort of Nazis in Ku Klux Klan show up in Charlottesville in the USA, it's as though the civil rights movement never happened. It's as though Martin Luther King didn't lay down his life for nothing. It's as though somehow or other, with the remarks made from the White House, that degree of unbelievable racism is somehow or other something to be tolerated. It can never be tolerated. The flag of the KKK and Nazis can never be tolerated under any circumstances. And it's up to all of us to speak out on that. And so, I want to say this: thank you for what you do. Thank you for coming along today. And thank you for the contribution you make to the party and what we're doing together. But it's being strong in the community. It's raising the hopes of people in communities. When communities come together, do things together, improve the bus service, improve the park, get a school, all those things that we've all spent our lives campaigning on, suddenly people are much stronger. They then realise that all of us are much stronger if we challenge the economic narrative that somehow or other austerity is inevitable. Somehow or other a growing gap between the rich and the poor is inevitable. Somehow or other all the growth of massive, wonderful technology all around the world is going to benefit the few, not the many. Surely we've got a party and a movement, and we now need a government that understands that, to redistribute power and wealth, empower the people in order to bring about that decency for the future, and a government that speaks out against human rights abuses wherever they occur all around the world, and a government that wants democracy, peace, justice and human rights for everybody around the world, not a government that blames the victims of abuse, such as those dying in the Mediterranean and other places, looking for a place of safety as refugees. Our movement was built by people with far-sighted ideas and ambitions for the good of all of us. That's what's so good and strong about our party. That's what's so exciting about what we're all doing at the moment. Let's get out there, talk to those people, knock on those doors. Let's gain Bolton West for Labour. Thank you very much.